This morning, we're going to do a little bit of a science experiment, if you will. I'm going to give you guys several different scenarios, and we're going to just kind of by a raise of hands, either to keep it or to give it, to kind of see what you would do in some different situations. You guys willing to play along? All right, here we go. You're in line at McDonald's. And if you don't like McDonald's, it can just be your favorite fast food restaurant. But you're in line at McDonald's, and you get up to the window, and you find out that the person in front of you has paid for your meal. So you can either choose to drive off with a free Happy Meal, or you can choose to pay for the person behind you. Now, if you would keep it, drive off, and, eat away, raise your hand. All right. Remember, you are at church, so you have to tell the truth, okay? All right, if you would give it, pay it forward, pay for the person behind you, raise your hand. All right, next time you guys go to McDonald's, I'm following one of y'all. All right, next scenario. You are out shopping with your friends. You find a $20 bill on the ground. Now, you can either choose to spread the wealth, maybe buy ice cream for everybody in your group, or you can choose to keep that $20 and go buy yourself some ice cream and eat it all alone. If you would keep it, raise your hand. At least y'all are honest. Y'all are honest. All right, if you would spread the wealth, raise your hand. All right, man, we got a giving church. Awesome. All right, last scenario. This is kind of the hardest one, I think. At least it would be for me. A vending machine malfunctions, and it gives you an extra bag of your favorite potato chip. Now, you can either choose to give that bag to the person behind you, or you could choose to keep it and eat both bags. Now, if you would keep it, raise your hand. I would. If it was Doritos, it'd be all over. That's my favorite type of chip. All right, if you would give it, pass it on to the person behind you, raise your hand. All right, very cool, very cool. Thank you guys for playing along. Now, maybe you haven't found $20 on the ground recently, but the truth is, you've been given a lot. You might not have the perfect life. You might not be rich, but you've been given a lot. And I know that I've been given a lot. We are tremendously blessed in a number of different ways. So what is it about us that when we are given a gift that we didn't expect, that we're often slow to share that gift? We're often slow to share it. Just kind of in a funny way, I know you guys know who Elizabeth is. She's an amazing, cute, adorable little girl. She walks around out front, Terry and Camille's little girl. One Sunday, I went up to her. She had one of those, I guess it's applesauce things that they can kind of suck the applesauce out of it. And I went up to her and I asked her if I could have some. And she kind of shaked and held it up. And then when I went to go grab it, she held it back and looked at me like, what are you thinking? But we are. We're often very slow to share a gift that we have been given and didn't really expect. And the question I want to ask this morning is why don't we pay it forward more often? Why don't we pay it forward more often? I'm going to be a little transparent with you guys. The times that I was at Starbucks and the person paid for my drink in front of me, I didn't pay for the person behind me. I took my coffee and kind of celebrated and drove off like I had got this great victory. I didn't pay it forward when I could have. I chose to not do that. And now, for the past few weeks on Wednesday evenings with the youth group, we've been talking about a big story. Now, it's the story that God has been telling through us and to us since the beginning of time. And as we learned last week, or actually the week before, that story involves God giving us a really big gift. A really big gift. A huge, incredible, undeserved gift. He has given us life. He's given us hope. And He's also given us a second chance. A second chance. And if you would allow me to, I'd like to take a moment to kind of recap what we've been talking about with the teenagers these past few Wednesday nights. Because just like any story, you can't jump in the middle or go right to the end and expect to know what's going on. You can't expect to be privy to what is all taking place. Now, the story, it starts with Adam and Eve and with God. And with God creating. God is the creator. He created the universe, everything that we see, you and I. With Him creating. Then He created humans simply because He wanted to be in a relationship with us. He wanted to know us, and He wanted us to know Him. Now, if that was chapter 1, you could summarize it this way. You were made to know God. You were made to have a relationship with the Creator of the universe. Everything that we see, you were made to have a relationship with Him. But then we came along and messed things up. Adam and Eve, you and me, we've all made choices that have damaged our relationship with God. Adam and Eve did it when they ate the fruit from the tree in the garden. And you and I do it every time we make a choice that goes against what God's best would be for us, or what God would desire for us in our lives. We damage our relationship with God with our sin. Now, if that was chapter 2, you could summarize it like this. Your sin has consequences. You were made to know God. You were made to have a relationship with your Creator. But your sin, it has consequences. Sometimes those consequences are maybe a punishment as a result of whatever sin it was. And then sometimes those consequences are a direct result of that sin. I shared a story with our teenagers. I had a friend in high school. His name was Jason. And after kind of thinking about it, I have a lot of friends named Jason for some reason. But his name was Jason. And I remember it was one weekend. Actually, I was out surfing, and I paddled out in the water, and he was out there, and we sat next to each other, and we had a long conversation, just chit-chatting, just about life and high school and all that kind of stuff. But that night, Jason went to a party, and Jason chose to drink at that party, and then he chose to drive. And when he got behind the wheel, it wasn't too far from where that party was taking place that he was in an accident, and he lost his life as a result of his choice. His sin, the consequence, was a direct result of his sin. And that was the last time that I saw Jason. He was a very dear friend. But our sin, it has consequences. But despite everything, God still wanted a relationship with us. God desires a relationship with us. And He knew that there was nothing that you or I could do of our own volition, of our own power, to fix that relationship. There was nothing that we could do, but He knew that there was something that He could do. And that's why He sent His Son. He came to earth, God came to earth in the form of Jesus. He lived, He died, and He rose again in order to restore that broken relationship with Him. And if that was chapter 3, you could summarize it this way. Jesus can restore what we have broken. Jesus can restore what we have broken. We were made to have a relationship with our Creator. We were made to know Him on a level that it surpasses what we would think of as just a normal relationship. On an intimate level, we were made to know God. But our sin, it has consequence. And I think we can all agree with that. We have all done things where there's been consequence in our lives, and some of those consequences they kind of last throughout the course of our lives. And then some of those consequences are short type of consequences. But our sin has consequence. But Jesus can fix what we have broken. And that's the big gift that God has given us. That's the big gift. It's the gift of His grace. It's the gift of a new life. But that's not the end of the story. There's a fourth and final chapter. After Jesus rose from the dead, he spent more time with his followers. He spent more time with his disciples. And he knew he wouldn't be staying long, but he also knew that his job wasn't quite finished. He still had things to do. He still had things to say. And I want to take a look at a passage of Scripture from the book of Acts, chapter 1, verses 3 through 8. If you want to turn there in your Bibles, you can do that. It'll also be on the screen behind me. And if you want to swipe there, you can do that as well if you are into the whole technology deal. But in Acts chapter 1, starting in verse 3, it says, "After his suffering, he presented himself to them and gave many convincing proofs that he was alive. He appeared to them over a period of 40 days and spoke about the kingdom of God." Go on to the next passage. "On one occasion, while he was eating with them, he gave them this command: 'Do not leave Jerusalem, but wait for the gift my Father promised, which you have heard me speak about.' Then they gathered around him and asked him, 'Lord, are you at this time going to restore the kingdom of Israel?' He said to them, 'It is not for you to know the times or dates the Father has set by his own authority. But you will receive power when the Holy Spirit comes on you, and you will be my witnesses in Jerusalem and in all Judea and Samaria and to the ends of the earth. For John baptized with water, but in a few days you will be baptized with the Holy Spirit.'" Amen. Jesus' disciples knew that all that Jesus had promised. He had promised that God would set up a new kingdom on earth and restore everything through Jesus. But because of those promises, the disciples believed God would set up a literal kingdom with a government, and that he would do it pretty much on an immediate pace. Jesus, though, had a different perspective. He had a different perspective. Jesus did come to set up a new kingdom, but that did not mean a takeover of the Roman government. Yes, it did mean a future eternal kingdom, but it also meant a new way of life for the people who followed God in the here and now. Like right now. For the world, it started with his resurrection. And for you and I, it starts with our willingness to let Jesus take the wheel, to let him have control of our lives, and to let him restore us, to let him begin that process of restoration, of sanctification. That's when it begins for us, but that's not the end of the story either. It's only the beginning of the story. You see, Jesus' message was never, "I'm alive, you've been saved, now I'll see you at the party when I come back." That was never Jesus' message. I believe there are a lot of Christians that live like that was his message, though. That Jesus is alive. I'm saved. And one day I'm going to go to heaven. But that's not Jesus' message. You see, Jesus' message was, "I'm alive. I'm back. You've been saved. Now we got a lot of work we got to do. We've got a lot that we have to do. It's not about just sitting back and waiting for me to return. There's a lot of work that has to be done. You have a mission here and now. As a follower of Christ, you have a mission here and now. You see, sometimes I don't think we see or we understand the urgency that there is with the gospel. There's an urgency there. It's not about just kind of showing up, sitting in a seat, singing some songs, going home, punching your card, and saying, "I'm good for the week." That's not what it's about. You see, that is the message of Jesus is alive, I'm saved, and one day I'm going to heaven. That wasn't Jesus' message. Jesus' message was, "I'm alive. You're saved. Let's throw the chairs out the window. Let's go out into our community. Let's love people. Let's meet them where they are in life, regardless of how gross it might get. Let's meet them where they are and let's love them. Let's love them. You see, I believe this is said a little bit differently in 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 15. If you would, put that up on the screen. It says, because in your hearts, revere Christ as Lord. Always be prepared to give an answer to everyone who asks you to give the reason for the hope that you have. But do this with gentleness and respect. You see, because of Jesus, you have hope. Because of Jesus, you are not hopeless. Because of Jesus, you have a reason to be hopeful. You have a reason to rejoice. You have a reason to sing, but it's not good enough to keep that hope to yourself. It's not good enough to keep it for yourself. According to Jesus, we're supposed to give it away. To give it away. We're not supposed to just keep it to ourselves. We're not supposed to never really share it. We're supposed to give it away. Because there are many people who need the hope and restoration that Jesus offers. There are so many people who need to hear about the love of Jesus. Now, I had some people, ask me, what's the big idea? That was the kind of title, I guess, given to the message. And that's the big idea. That's the big idea. You and I have been given a message of hope, a message of restoration. We need to give it away. See, sometimes I think we forget that. We need to give it away. We have to get busy sharing hope. We have to get busy sharing it. The story of God that we've been exploring on Wednesday evenings with our teenagers and a little bit here this morning is so full of hope. It's so full of restoration, full of grace, full of mercy. Because of Jesus, we have access to God's extravagant love. We have access to His reckless, relentless, unconditional love. We have access to His power to turn death to life, to offer people a second chance at life. And if you know Jesus, you've already received and been restored by that hope. And now your mission is to share that hope here and now. Not a week from now, not 2 weeks from now, not a month from now, not when you kind of finally decide that you're good and you're ready and you can do it. Now. Now. We have to get up out of our chairs. We have to throw our punch cards away. And we have to go. Jesus didn't say, when you feel like it. He didn't say, maybe when you're, maybe when you're finally 30. That's a good age. You can go start sharing the gospel. He simply said, go. Go. Seems like a very simple, just kind of 2-syllable word. But it has so much more of a deeper meaning. Go. We have to begin sharing hope. You can share that story by sharing God's story. And you actually can tell that story in a few sentences. You were made to know God. But there's kind of a downside. Your sin, it has consequences. It does. But guess what? Jesus can fix what you've broken. He can repair what you have broken. He can take the guilt, the shame away. He can give you a new life. He can give you a new life. And once you meet Him, you join His mission here and now. You join His mission here and now. You become part of a much bigger story. a much bigger story. But you can also share your hope by sharing your story. You see, we all have a story. And I know sometimes people say, well, I grew up in the church. You know, my story, I don't really have a story. I've been here since I was born. And in my opinion, your story is greater than mine. Because you have been able to witness, since you were able to understand people being changed. You've been able to witness God working and moving in the lives of other people way longer than I ever have. And you can testify to that. And you do have a story. God began a restoration process in your life and in your heart at some point. Because none of us are perfect. We've all sinned. We've all done things that we're not proud of. Scripture tells us that. We've all sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. So you do have a story. My story, yeah, God brought me out of a lot of junk. He has. The way He has worked and moved in my life over the course of 40 years, that is the reason why I have the hope. That is the reason why I cling to Him, is because of what He's done in my life. Because of how I've seen Him move in the lives of others. We all have a story. And that's quite possibly really the easiest way that we can share who God is, by telling our story. And one of my, just a brother from Vigilant Hope, I was so happy to see him this morning. Just hearing stories at Vigilant Hope. I've kind of gotten pretty involved with worship and leading worship on Monday mornings there in Jeremy's absence, and just being able to hear people's stories. And sometimes some of my friends there, the stories that I hear, their joy, their happiness that they have when they have so little. And then sometimes I kind of sit back and I'm like, woe is me. I don't have this. I don't have that. And then, when I hear someone else's story of how joyful they are, how thankful they are for what they have, and then I'm sitting back with so much more than I even deserve, it's a good reality check. I know our teens that went last year and served with the Port City Project, I think when they first got there, pretty much all of them, myself really included, were kind of a little nervous, didn't quite know what to expect. But by the end of the week, I'm sure that they would tell you that it put a lot of things in perspective for them. Anytime you step on the mission field, whether it's here at home or in another country, it puts things in perspective in a huge way. Some of the times that I went to Mexico, I used to go to Mexico to build houses. Some of you guys may not know that, but I used to go there to build houses. And I remember the first time that I went, the first house that we built for a family of 3. I don't know if you guys have seen these trailers. They're really tiny camper trailers. Really only fit probably one person inside of them. They're really small. I don't know how really to kind of give you an idea. It's maybe no longer than 3, maybe 4 chairs in length. And it's, it probably, actually, if I remember, it only came up to, I don't know, probably right up here on me. So they're very tiny. It was a family of 3 that lived in this trailer. They had a baby, and they had nothing. And their little girl, she looked just like my daughter. I don't know if that was a God thing. I really don't know. But at that time period, she looked just like my daughter. And that week, it put things in perspective for me in a huge way. There are families that live and literally sleep on the ground. There are people who live and literally sleep on the ground, do not have shelter over their heads at night, do not have food to eat quite often. It's our responsibility to love them. There are people that are lost. It's our responsibility to love them. It's our responsibility to share the hope and restoration of the gospel. It's our responsibility. We have to get busy sharing hope. And this leads me into my last point. The worship team, if you guys want to come forward, you guys can come on up. We have to get busy being hope. The world needs more than just hopeful words and hopeful stories. While they are good and they have their place, the world needs much more than that. It needs people who are actually going to live those stories of hope. It needs people who are not only going to talk it, but walk it. It needs to see people who are going to live out their stories of hope, that are going to cling to the faith that they claim to cling a hold of, and they're going to allow it to permeate every area of their life. And they're going to go out. They're going to go. The way Jesus said, he said, go. You may not know everything. You may not have a Bible college degree. Go. Because God can take what you have and he can do amazing things through it. He can reach people that you never thought that you would ever reach through you. All you have to do is go. All you have to do is go. We have to get busy being hope. When you look at the world around you, what still needs to be restored? If you were to walk out these doors today, what still needs to be restored? Are there people who are hungry? Yeah. Okay. How about you go buy them a meal? Buy them a meal. Are there people who are being hurt? Yes. I have a dear friend that works for a crisis pregnancy center in the Virginia Beach area, and she works with mothers every day that come out of abusive relationships. And that is her ministry. She helps those women find peace, security, freedom in some aspects. There are people being hurt. It's our responsibility to help them. Are there people who feel unloved? Yes. And love them. Love them. You've been given an incredible gift. Don't keep it for yourself. Don't become content with just filling a chair on a Sunday morning. Be willing to be bold. Be willing to stand up and to stand out. Be willing to be different. You know, my daughter, most of you guys know who she is. If you don't, one day you probably will, because she will make that happen. I promise you. She kind of blew my mind, actually. She's been going through a difficult period in school with another girl that's there. And she always tells me that she wants to be different. She doesn't want to be like every other girl that she goes to school with. She wants to be different. She wants to stand out. She's not afraid to tell anybody that she loves Jesus. She actually got in trouble at school at one point because she was handing out cards for a play. She's not afraid to do that. She wants to be different. I think Jesus was on to something when he said, you have to become like a child. It's just something about kids. I don't know. I think sometimes they get it more than we do. You've been given an incredible gift. Don't keep it for yourself. You have to give it away. You've been called to give it away. You've been challenged to give it away. You've been challenged to go. You've been challenged to love, regardless of the situation. So go. Go.